Hello, everyone. Today, I will be discussing a breakdown and review and analysis of an open door class that I just had today. And there's some really unusual things that kind of happened, and it almost felt like the worst possible outcome occurred. Although it wasn't as bad as I kind of made it out to be. But stay tuned and find out exactly what happens. So, in this lesson, I had 8 students, and an open door class is basically where parents will come and observe the class at the school. So normally you just have your students and then you just teach the students English, and the parents won't be in the classroom. This particular class, the parents are in the classroom, and they're watching you teach during the last part of the class. So typically for this specific class, I have 8 students, and it's 7 boys and 1 girl in the class, so 8 total. The age, uh, basically, they're between 8 years old and 9 years old. And essentially, they're all 9 years old. There's like 2 or 3 of them that are turning 9 years old in like 1 month. So this specific class will run once a week, and it's for 2 hours long. And for an open class, what happens is we kind of go over the last few lessons, and we show the parents kind of what the students have learned over these past few weeks. So during the first part of the class, what we kind of have to do is we have to review the material with the students again, so that they get prepared for the activities that we're going to do in front of the parents. So I do feel like it's kind of like preparing for a staged act almost, which is kind of weird, but I guess that's the way that the school kind of wants it done. So that's kind of how we did it. So in the first part, we basically reviewed with the class. The class had a lot of trouble with direction. So one of the topics was giving direction. So before the parents came in, I had reviewed a lot of direction. So basically, when you give direction, they're like, oh, let's say, where is the supermarket? And you might say, okay, go down Lincoln Street, then turn right on Maitland Boulevard, go straight down 3 traffic lights, and stop at the intersection and make a right on James Avenue, and the supermarket will be on your left. So this is what the students need to be able to produce. However, there's a lot of vocabulary in this, and most of them could not produce that correctly. So a great deal of time was spent preparing for this. It was also a combination that it was a summertime. So at the time of this recording, it's September 2nd. So for this specific where we taught directions, it was like during the summertime. So a lot of them had went on vacation. They had missed a lot of classes. So I had to like review this significantly more. So this was one big topic. And then another one that we did that we had to review was like words in present and past tense. So flew, fly, climb, climbed, grew, grow. So all these words, present and past tense. And then basically we had to make sentences and stuff like that. So I prepared them for that. And also professions. Professions, I feel like they really have it because it's pretty straightforward, right? Professions like chef, dentist, police officer. Where does a police officer work? They work in the police station, so it's fairly straightforward. And they know how to ask the question, they know how to answer the question. I feel like giving directions, it changes because it's not a fixed answer. Whereas like where does where does he work? So if it's like a doctor, he works at the hospital. So it's a very fixed answer. And it's like you just memorize the answer, but giving directions, you have to know, like it changes depending on your location. So you can't just memorize it unless you use the same exact map. So you have to know, hey, go straight down this street, turn right, turn left, go past the traffic light, or go straight down and make a left, and the place is going to be on your right or on your left, right? So northwest, east, west, south, east, west, all those directions. So they have to like be able to use that and apply it, which makes it much harder, and it also kind of really demonstrates that they actually know the vocabulary rather than parroting it back. So in the open class, the parents came in, and then I also had another colleague who basically manages the class. And she basically helps to translate, since I'm considered like the English teacher. So most English teachers, they don't speak Chinese. I can speak some, but I really don't want to use it because I can speak it, but like sometimes I don't understand every detail that they're trying to tell me, so I don't want any miscommunications. The second reason is also, if you start speaking Chinese, then the students will know that you speak Chinese, so they won't use English in class, and they'll keep on using Chinese to speak to you rather than using English. And the more production in English that they have, the better it is for them. And if they make mistakes, as an English teacher, you will help make corrections, and then have them change it so that they can use it correctly the next time. So she was in the class to help me translate, and also she also helped manages the students' progress with the parents. So I gave my introduction. I introduced myself, talked about how we covered different units, different topics, covered the vocabulary, the grammar, and different topics of that nature, and job professions. And then I basically told them during this open class, we will kind of display what they have learned during this time period. I'm not sure if she translated that exactly. I think she might have changed a few things. I couldn't understand every detail that she mentioned. So we did so in the beginning, I just basically did, we went over the present, past tense of words, fly, flew with the kids, and we did a guessing game. So 8 students, so 4 students and 4 students. So I would have 4 students, and they would I would point to, like, I would show them, only the 4 students can see it. And it's like an acting game, right? So if I point to fly and only the 4 can see it, they have to pretend to fly, and the other 4 students sitting down will basically try to guess what they're trying to do. So we did that. And then the next part, I had them write sentences. So they had to write down, if I had a word like, let's say I win every day, and then I say, what happened? How do I use, what do I use if it happened yesterday or last week? They'll have to say, I won yesterday, or I won last week. Or I wear a t-shirt every day. And it's like, how do you write it if it's yesterday or last week? And they'll say, I wore a t-shirt last week. So they have to write that sentence. So that will demonstrate that their ability to write sentences, to showcase to the parents their ability to write sentences. So we did that. And then afterwards, I had them give directions individually. So the last 2, the acting game was everyone, all 8 students basically participated, and then the writing everyone did at the same time. And this giving directions was more, the interaction pattern was a teacher to student. So one student at a time I'll say, okay, how do I get to the hospital? How do I go to the hospital? And they give me directions. So they'll say, go down Lincoln Boulevard, then turn right on Orange Avenue, go straight, all the way down to the intersection. So they have to basically tell me how to get there. Most of them did pretty well because we practiced quite a bit prior to the open class. And there were some that struggled a little bit, and I had to give small hints. They might have sometimes forget to use the word turn. So like turn right, turn left, they'll just say right on the street, or sometimes they don't even say the street name. So it's kind of important to give the street name or get in the habit of it, because there's like multiple streets. So if they just say turn right, you don't know if it's going to be turn right on Lincoln Street or turn right on Orange Avenue. So they have to get in more of the habit. And I think the amount of time that we spend teaching directions could be a little bit longer, or like maybe the curriculum can be designed where we continue to use giving directions, because it is a very useful thing to know, and it's like real time. It changes depending on where the location is, so it's not going to be fixed. So we did all 8 students did pretty fairly decently. There were a few that needed a little bit of help, where I have to point to the word and maybe give like one word hints, but most of them did fairly well. And I think a lot of them had missed a lot of classes, so to be able to learn all of that within an hour, and then do it in front of their parents, I think it was pretty decent. The funny thing is that one of the students says, teacher, I don't want to do this for the 3rd time. And I just responded, well, if you got it right the first time, we wouldn't have to do it. I thought that was hilarious, because he's kind of right in the sense that we're repeating the same thing over and over. It's like, why are you doing this again? But that's what the school wants. The school wants us to prepare the activities prior to them doing it in front of the parents, to basically show that they what they know and what they've learned. So it's like preparing for a play where you've acted it out many times, and then you do one performance. It almost feels that way. So that's giving directions. And then the last part is we went over job professions and where they've worked. So I played a little game where it's called the bomb game. So the person holding the bomb, and then everyone else will hold a small flashcard that is a profession. So it might be dentist, chef, police officer, some kind of profession. So they'll hold it, and then they'll ask a question. They'll go up to a person and ask the question. And basically, why is it called the bomb game? Is one person holds a flashcard that is a bomb, and there's a timer. So I set like a 2-minute timer for how long the activity goes. And if the timer goes to 0 and it rings, the person holding the bomb is like, oh, they lose. They basically go boom, right? So no one wants to bomb, but it's really fun, and sometimes they get a little bit rowdy. So the person that holds the bomb, they'll ask the question, and the first round we say, what does he do? And then it's like, he's a dentist, right? And then the second round is, where does he work? And then if the person holding a doctor, they're like, he works at the hospital. So they'll answer the question based on where they are, and then they'll switch cards. So once the person holding the bomb asks the person with the flashcard, they'll switch. So they'll take the bomb flashcard, and the other person will take the profession flashcard. So the chef, they'll take the chef, and then the person with the bomb will ask the next person. So it rotates until the clock hits 0. So I set the timer for 2 minutes for each of the rounds. So there's 2 rounds. And they were a little rowdy. I gave my directions basically prior. It's like no pushing, no pushing, no shoving, no running, and you can't run away, right? Because some of the students want to run away and hide because they don't want the bomb. So that's what I gave the directions, but it's this is where the problem lies, that there's 7 boys and 1 girl. So the 7 boys were like so hyperactive and jumping and stuff like that. So they were running around and jumping, and we had literally like probably less than 5 minutes left of the open class, and then after that 5 minutes it's like it's over, right? And that was the last activity, the bomb game, and then we were gonna do a reading activity, and then that would be at the end of it. But right when the bomb game was about to like finish, and it was like ticking like less than 10 seconds, I think one of the like one of the boys had stepped on the girl's foot and like her toenail, and she was wearing open toed shoes. So it's like she wasn't wearing closed toed shoes. So like she was wearing sandals. So I think they either kicked her toenail or stepped on her toenail. I didn't know which one, but basically her toenail just like came undone. I didn't know what happened when it happened, and it was just like the parents, the mom and the dad, like kind of freaked out, and they got really like upset, and I was like trying to like I was like, oh shoot, that's like, are you okay? And I didn't know what has happened because I didn't see like the toenail or anything, but apparently it was the toenail getting like uplifted, and the dad got pissed off, the mom was upset, and the dad just picked up the daughter and just ran out of took her out of the classroom, and they like the mom, dad, and the girl, just the student, they just left the classroom, and then my colleague went out and started talking with them, and then normally towards the end of the class, they I would close, and then my colleague would translate for me, and then that would be at the end of the open class. But that wasn't the case. So I had like 4 minutes left. So I had them all the boys sit down. So 7 boys left, and I had them do a little read a story, which they had read in a prior class, and they read it again in this class. And so they read the story, and they took turns reading it, and I asked some questions, they answered it. Normally they would have trouble answering these questions, but I had already, this is why it's like almost like a performance, is I had already asked some of the questions. There were some new questions, like, I asked how many brothers and sisters did he have? So like I did change some other questions, but it was like so that was just basically to take up the rest of the time, and also showcase that they had some ability to read on their own. So I closed and I ended and I said this, thank you for coming, thank you all the parents for coming. This is the accumulation of the 3 different units that we've covered. So I closed, and then after I closed, my colleague walked in, and then she was like, "Oh, are we finished?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can say something." And then she closed and she finished talking. And then I'm still like in my head, I'm still wondering, oh gosh, how is she doing? Is she okay? Are the parents upset? Are they pissed off? Like I really wasn't, because they're speaking in Mandarin Chinese, and some of the words that they were saying I didn't understand. So, but you can kind of see by the body language that they were really upset. And so the parents and the children, and I had given them their stamps for the day, and then parents left, children left, and then I was putting my stuff away, and then one parent came back. I didn't know it at the time, but apparently that was the dad that came back. The dad of the daughter was like basically still talking about the situation, and I only caught a few words, like something like who's gonna be responsible, something to that effect. It's like I think he said, is it gonna be the children, or is it gonna be the school? Like who's gonna be responsible for this? And I was like, oh shoot. And I really, he wasn't looking at me or anything, and he was just talking to my colleague who manages the class and communicates the progress of the students to the parents. So I took my stuff, kind of went back to my cubicle area, and I started grading papers, and I can essentially go home at this point since my day is done, but I was like, I'll just wait and see. I'll wait for my colleague and kind of see what happens. So I was just grading some papers, and then it was a long time before she came back. So apparently he just kept on talking to her, and she came back and she kind of explained the situation, and he's like, yeah, he was like kind of upset, and because that's their only daughter, right? And the daughter's like eight 8 years old, almost 9 years old, and like she got hurt, and they just kind of like it's their only daughter, and I guess a little bit their heart hurts because heartbroken, I guess, because their daughter got hurt, and it's like she's like, don't worry about it. It's not something you can control specifically, but it's something that it's out of our control, and it's not something like don't worry about it too much. So apparently the dad wants like some kind of compensation, and they're taking their daughter to the hospital. So I do know a little bit about how that feels like, where your toenail literally gets ripped up, because it happened to me before. I think it was back when I was in college, and I was playing basketball and closed toe shoes. So someone kicked my shoe, and apparently they kicked it in such a way that my toenail, my big toe nail literally like lifted, like it literally came up, and it was just lifted up. So, and it was super painful, blood and everything coming out, and very painful. And it took like it was like just hard to even cut that toenail off. Like the part that just got lifted up, so half of my toenail was lifted up and half it was still on the skin, and I just had to like wait for that toenail to grow back out, and it did take some time for it to grow back, but like when I walked on it, it was painful, and it's not fun. So I do have some experience on what that feels like. Um, but yeah, apparently she also takes ballet class. So she will have to miss ballet class because of her toe. And so it's not just like a compensation of like medical bills or getting injured fee, but also like she has to miss paid ballet class that they apparently can't like make up the class. So the class keeps on going. So if she missed the class, she misses the class. So um, I kind of feel bad that she got hurt, and hope she gets better. And it's definitely not the result I wanted. However, I do feel like it's always been a challenge for me personally to have so many boys, like the percentage of boys, like 80, like this is like 87.5% boys and like 12.5% girls. So like close to 90% boys, um, and your classroom management really has to be on point and like perfect, for this to like go well, because even like I'm very strict, and then I turn my back for half a second, and then they just start screaming and yelling and jumping up and down, and you have your reward system, you take away points and stuff like that. um, it's like they have a short-term memory. So I've I I do feel like I kind of toned myself down a little bit, where I'm less strict, because I have noticed where if you're too strict, then it ends up being where the students will really hate you, and they don't want to come to class, or like they just like don't answer you. So I have gotten that situation where that has happened, which is why I also like toned it back. And it's also you want it to be where they can have like an enjoyable experience in learning, and where you don't have to feel frustrated. So I've tried to figure out how to tone it back and make the activities more fun, so that they don't feel antsy. However, it's this specific class is a little challenging. My other classes, it's easier because it's, I guess, different personalities, and also the percentage of boys, the percentage of girls is more balanced. so that it's not like everybody's just jumping up and down and leaving their seats, and then you take your points away, but they have such a short-term memory. Like you would have to like go really, you have to like do things where like you have to, I'm going to make you stay 5 minutes after class, or like I'm going to tell your dad, or I'm going to record this, like hold up your phone and start recording them. Then they start like behaving a little bit, but it just feels like you have to do that every single time. Maybe I have to use that method to get them to get them back on track, because them being so rowdy, I do feel like this bomb game normally does end up where they start jumping and running everywhere. So I didn't anticipate someone's toe just coming up like that. But they were much more well behaved when their parents were there. But I do think I need to kind of make my disciplining a little bit more strict with this class, despite the fact that I don't want to be so strict, because it does make it where it's like every time they come to class, they're getting disciplined. So it's not, but I just have to kind of find the balance where if they do something good, I have to like give them praise so that they don't feel like it's personal. It's just like if you do something that's disruptive to the class, then you'll have to take the punishment a little bit. So I also got some feedback from my colleague. She mentioned that I could also, some of the games, because I reused some of the present and past tense words, so they did a game with that, but then I also made sentences. She said I could probably use some different, I can actually use some different other vocabulary so that the parents can kind of see what the children have learned. And I do see the points. I do see her points, so that is something that I can do. I'm also very new to this teaching material, so I don't actually like recall all the single, because I had to go back and I stayed up to like 1 a.m. just planning this lesson. So I spent like a lot of hours just planning and preparing for this one open class to try to make it as best as possible. It didn't go as ideal. And she also, the other suggestion she said is that if the game is getting rowdy, that I can stop it even in the middle. Like it's okay to stop in the middle. And she does make a good point. Like if it is getting out of control, I should stop in the middle, so that it's like if these situation does happen in real time in class, I could stop it in the middle. And it's okay to stop in the middle and tell them to have a seat. So potentially that could have prevented what had happened, because they were running around and jumping. But it wasn't like super severe. They were just moving around and trying to run and hide from the bomb person. So so that was this specific class. And also, in other news, there was also a typhoon that came by. So I'm in Shenzhen, China. That is more towards the coastline of China and the southern part. So there was a typhoon that came by yesterday, and all the classes yesterday got canceled, and we just had a Microsoft meeting. So a Microsoft meeting, I forgot what the app is called, but it was like on Microsoft basically, and we had a meeting for like an hour, discussed some things, and then today we had our mornings classes canceled because the our school was still going to be closed at that time. So we went to work in the middle of the day at like 12:30. So and then I had another class, and then I had this open class that I just did. So as I get better at this, I'll think of some better ideas. Classroom management tends to, for me, like it can be either really good, or if there's like 7 boys and 1 girl, then it's just hard. It's just very hard. Or like all boys. I've had it where it's like 6 boys. It's like every single one of them are boys, and they're just very rowdy at this age. and they can't sit still. So I have to learn to how to manage those. But under like normal classes where there's like a good balance, I tend to have decent classroom management. But this is just this class and one other class. I think there's two classes out of my many classes that gives me a little bit of trouble with classroom management because they just fly everywhere. So all right, thanks for staying all the way till the end. And in the next one, I will possibly discuss another class and review and analyze it myself, and or maybe discuss some other topics. Until next time, see you soon. And if you like the topics that I've discussed, click the subscribe button. And if you don't, that's okay. And see you guys next time. Bye-bye.